Buy on MTG. Construct your deck. Command your board. Conquer the table.
Hello out there in the wide world of web. This is Rob with Buy on MTG. Today we're going to do a little deck tech on Bello, Bard of the Brambles. So I have mine currently broken down, looking at what things make tokens, the one combo that's in the deck, trample enablers and whatnot. But overall, I'm going to just first shift to types so you can see just hard numbers, what I'm looking at. So it's a total of 10 artifacts, 17 creatures, 23 enchantments. So although he does make the 4 mana value artifacts and enchantments larger, I leaned into the enchantment side because I felt there was a couple additional synergies that the artifacts, although powerful, didn't really give me. And you'll notice as I continue to do my deck techs, I lean into as much card draw as possible, and that's just how I enjoy to play. So 23 enchantments, only 4 instants, which for me is very, very low, but in this Gruul list, my intentions weren't to have it as reactionary as some of my other builds. This one is more of what I wanted Gruul to be, and that was just like combat damage and just hammer it through with creatures. 36 lands, that's pretty much my standard land count. I rarely go above or below that. Sorceries, there's a total of 9. You'll see this 29 cards in the maybe board. That is the entirety of everything that I pulled out of the pre-con. So I do have it listed as animated army upgraded. So it is a 29 card upgrade. So definitely substantial. The total value pulled out was $34.50. The total cost of the deck at this point is just shy of $300. So it's not a budget upgrade, but I think a $300 upgrade for me and really the play group and majority of the people I interact with, that's about where we're at. I'm going to shift it back to categories so that way we can see kind of how I have it broken down. Now, the removal package, although I do agree that it is not as much, it correlates with only having the 4 instants. I wanted to utilize this, like I said, for creatures and hammer it through. And with that, it's less Spellslinger. So the removal package is smaller. The Blasphemous Axe, a board wipe, Chaos Warp can deal with anything, similar with the Beast Within. The neat one in this would be Warstorm Surge. Being that it's an enchantment and it's greater than 4 mana, whenever a creature you control enters, it deals damage equal to its power to any target. So with Bello in play, it entering the battlefield is a creature, so it will automatically trigger itself by seeing itself, which is pretty cool. Ramp, ton of ramp, and not everybody counts everything as the same thing as ramp. When I look at ramp, I more or less take into consideration, does this increase the amount of usable resources that I have in play? So although Archaeomancer makes spells cheaper, to me, it is ramp. Kodama, if I cast something, then I can put something else in play that's the same. So I've reduced the mana cost of that second thing. And if I play a land, I can put a second land into play. So Kodama is definitely, in my personal opinion, ramp, and really one of the best ramp spells in this deck. Overall, there's just some neat synergies within it. This guy is kind of cool, being that he gives you some treasure tokens. There's not a lot of treasure token enablers in this, but this guy giving you some treasures in conjunction with Reign of Riches, giving you Cascade off of the first spell you cast each turn when treasure is used. It's pretty amazing. We know Cascade is pretty strong mechanic, and that's why I have it fall underneath the draw mechanic, because it essentially gives you another spell for free. So it's a card, it alleviates the mana cost of it, so it's essentially ramp at the same time. But you do need a little bit extra treasures, and there's not a lot that you get without having these small, and obviously he's a trash panda, so he needs to be with his big brother, Bello. Big Brother Bello, Bard of the Brambles. That's a lot of bees. That's a, I don't know, rubber baby buggy bumper. Anyways, A couple more trash pandas. He's ramp, and he is also ramp. Just mana dork pandas, trash pandas. And I corrected some of the rocks, and I streamlined down. I don't like all of the giant mana rocks. I understand why they were in there because their CMC is 4 or higher. I would say Thran Dynamo and probably Hedron Archive. If I were to make 2 cuts to streamline, those would probably be 2 of the cuts. But I left them in there because it's part of the precon, and I didn't want to completely overhaul. 29 is a huge upgrade anyways. Protection, when I'm classifying protection, it's more or less just what can protect my permanents and kind of tell people no. Heroic Intervention is an amazing response to a board wipe. Sandworm Convergence, you'd be surprised how much it does protect you, especially in this deck because we don't have a lot of flyers. We don't have reach. We don't have that kind of thing. So Sandworm shutting down the flyers definitely helps. And it gives you these big clunkety tokens. So I could put this in protection or I could have classified it in tokens. But either way, it's good. Asceticism, protecting all your stuff, protecting you, and giving regeneration to your creatures. I've regenerated Bello a couple times on this one. Vexing Shusher can't be countered and makes your stuff uncounterable. Not to mention, there's a gorgeous promo, the Shadowmourne promo, that'll pop up on the screen that is just beautiful. And it's one of my favorite little goblins, and I put it in there whenever I can. Land base, I didn't upgrade this a ton. I put in Stomping Grounds, Spire Garden, and Wooded Foothills. Really, that's all I did to it. There is a huge area for upgrade in here to get rid of all of this stuff and put in the basic fetches, maybe the off-color fetches if you're into that sort of thing. Really anything that comes into play untapped because there is so many tap lands in here that this is the Achilles heel of this deck. If you wanted to go ahead and increase this from $300 to $500, you could dump $200 into your mana base. And in all honesty, probably make the deck play $200 better. And in my opinion, this is where the biggest upgrade would need to happen. But like I said, I didn't want to upgrade too much, but it is what it is. Card draw. Like I mentioned earlier, I love drawing cards. So Beast Whisperer, because it draws off of the creatures that are in the deck. And although that's not a lot, Bello making all of those enchantments into creatures draws you a ton. Eidolon Blossom, it's an enchantment. It draws you. It's a creature. It's pretty amazing. And a fun thing with it is Bello makes non-aura enchantments into 4/4 elemental creatures with haste, indestructible, and whenever they hit, they draw. Well, although this is a 2/2, it's an enchantment. So using layers, this becomes a 4/4 with indestructible and haste, and whenever it hits, you draw a card. So Eidolon is a pretty good 4/4 for 4 that draws you a card when it comes into play and draws you a card when it hits. More card draw. This one's pretty great. It just pops off of all the little bit larger creatures. And like I said, the enchantments. Or in Frostfang, you know, the amount of blocking math is already difficult for people when you're swinging quite a bit. When you are stacking things like a Trample enabler in conjunction with Death Touch, it makes blocking so difficult. Not to mention, when they deal combat damage, you get to draw a card. So if it's got Death Touch, you only need to assign 1 damage to the blocking creature because that's lethal combat damage, and the rest tramples over. So you kill their creature, you still get to hit them, you get to draw a card. This guy, anytime I have Trample, this is in it. And I think it's just a bomb card, like amazingly powerful. Toski, I don't know. I love squirrels, and he draws you a card. He's indestructible, so he does get you that 1 turn of a really good blocker. But when your creatures hit, and this correlates with the Trample, drawing a lot of cards. Cascade, Trample, great, especially because enchantment spells have Cascade, and there are a handful of other enchantments that I have put into here that weren't just generic enchantments. Great Henge. The +1 counter in here, there is a sub-theme of +1 counters in here, and it wasn't intentional, but it just kind of happened when I started looking through with like Great Henge and Primeval. Where's the other guy? This guy gives him +1, but there's a few +1 counters in here, and Great Henge, of course, is an amazing card. It definitely doesn't get reduced by a ton, being that our creatures are pretty much all 4/4s, but it does bring it down a little bit. And I don't know, that little bit of life gain sometimes helps out, and it's a ton of ramp. Elemental Bond, great card draw. Enchantress is present, great card draw. Guardian Project, I can't say enough about it. It's up to $8 again. It gets reprinted, it comes back down, but then it slowly creeps back up. But man, that card is just amazingly powerful. Lurking Predators. I never really played Lurking Predators too much, but in one of our games, Seth played this thing. And man, whenever an opponent casts a spell, you reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, you may put that card onto the bottom. So there's not a ton of creatures like we looked at earlier. There's only 17, but 17 is enough that you do hit off this thing. And if it's an amazing card that you do need, just leave it up top. And at the same time, if you're already flooding and you reveal off the top and it's a land, well, bottom that thing. Get it out of the way. You don't want it anyways. More card draw, more. Thickest in the Thicket is new in this pre-con, but man, another +1 counter synergy, like I was saying. Pretty amazing card, and really just that little bit of card draw. Making your stuff bigger is pretty gross. I've stuck at the +1 counters on Bello quite a few times just to make him, because he is dangerous, and when he's in play, he definitely harkens and requires removal, but just making him a little bit bigger makes things a little more difficult. Harmonize, yes, it's card draw. Similar to the mana base, if I was to do a hard upgrade, Harmonize would probably be gone for something else that's better card draw. Jessica's Well, just a backbreakingly strong card. It's ramp, it's card draw, it's super early on. I don't know how many times I've had a Rock on 2, Bello on 3, and then Jessica's Will on 4, and it just pops off from there. Because you getting 7 mana means that you're dropping those big enchantments. Like you're dropping a Fiery Emancipation, you're dropping Gratuitous Violence, you're putting out potentially full combos and just closing it out. Just an amazing card. These damage increase enchantments. I normally am very against things that if a source would deal double, it deals, or if a source would deal damage, it deals double. If a source would deal damage, it deals triple. If it deals damage, it doubles. If it does this, it's this. To me, I personally feel like most of these are just win more cards. This is another one with +1 counter synergy, which is pretty cool. But and the Riot enables the +1 counter. But in this deck specifically, I don't feel like these are purely win mores, mainly because they synergize with the commander outside of just being a win more card. They're also a creature. They also draw you a card from entering the battlefield. They'll draw you a card from combat damage. They'll draw you a card from hitting. They'll draw from all sorts of different stuff. So to me, yes, they are all win mores, but man, in this deck, I've had one of these on turn 5, turn 6, and knocking players out pretty consistently. This deck, if it ramps out well, and I think you noticed from the giant ramp package of 23 cards, it happens pretty frequently that this deck pops out real quick, and it is pretty consistent that this deck is the arch enemy, and I'm cool with that because me personally, I don't have to win the game to feel like I won or that the deck did the thing. I feel like if my deck popped off and I was the problem at the table, then to me that's a win, and I'm happy with it. Trample enablers. So the 4/4s, they tend to just eat tokens, and that super sucks. So let's make them trample. This gives them trample and gives you a card draw. This gives them trample. Also, because this is an enchantment creature, he drops from a 5/3 but to a 4/4, and he gets indestructible, he gets haste, and he gets, when he hits, you draw a card. So those little enchantment creatures, they get big quick, like Dryad of Elysian Grove being a 4/4, indestructible haste is pretty good. And Goreclaw. Goreclaw is just awesome. Creatures with power 4 or greater, they cost 2 less. But the big thing is the 4 or greater gets +1/+1 and trample. That's pretty amazing. If there was another trample enabler that was more on theme, I would swap him. But right now, I can't think of anything. If there is one that's an enchantment or an enchantment creature that I am missing, comment down below because I would love to swap out Goreclaw for something on theme. I don't know. I'm a sucker for themes. If there was a Trash Panda Raccoon that gave trample, oh yeah, he would be in there. This token thing, there's not a ton of token synergies within this. I do like Primeval Bounty. It serves a lot of purposes. You know, it gives you token blockers. It has the +1 counter. It gains you some life. It's not a kick butt card, but it gives you so much little incidental value that I feel like because it's also a 4/4 because of Bellows, it's justified. And similar with Molten Echoes. There's been a couple instances when I dropped a Fiery Emancipation and Molten Echoes gave me another one, and it was just disgusting. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down. The cost and production. Yeah, the mana basis right now, it's split 50-50 because, like I said, I did not completely overhaul this. But the way it currently sits, I haven't had any issues because the green being half of it and green fixing 99% of your stuff I've never had an issue casting. The one really expensive is the, what is that goofy Sandworm Convergence, but it's a very powerful card and it's certainly not required, but I like protecting against the flyers. Decent ramp and doesn't use a ton of different tokens. Overall, it's a very fun deck to play. I did pop it into the combo finder in the Aggravated Assault, Nature's Will. I skipped the combo section because I figured I would bring it up in here. So Aggravated Assault is the 3 and 2 red to untap all creatures you control, and you get to attack again. And Nature's Will says whenever a creature you control deals combat damage, you can untap all your lands. So really, being that Nature's Will is also a creature, kind of gives it that built-in synergy within the deck. But this combo just is another method to close out a game if for some reason somebody's got a ton of little 1/1s or whatever the situation ends up being, because the enchantments being indestructible is pretty great because you can just keep hammering through over and over and over. If you can hit one player, you send everything else at the other two people and just keep track of the damage that their creatures have taken, because eventually you're going to hammer through them because your stuff is indestructible. I do like showing these goofy, the poems that it generates, because I like those things. But the Bellows poem, let me see if I can get it where it shows it. It doesn't. Well, I could fix that. I could scoot it over. There we go. So overall, Bellows is just a blast to play. It's a very fun and interactive deck. It is about a $300 upgrade, but man, I've had so much fun playing this, and at the same time, I don't feel like overall it becomes oppressive to the rest of the table where they're not having any fun. Because at the end of the day, that's the big thing. If your group's not having fun, then why are you even sitting together? Why are you playing that deck? Play something different so everybody can have a good time. And accept the fact that you don't need to be salty if somebody combos and closes out. That just means you get to shuffle up and play another game. Overall, hope you're having a great day. We are getting close, so don't forget to vote. And I'm Rob. This is Buy on MTG. Good luck and have fun.
Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment down below.